What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Joseph, and welcome to Fiction and Flow. Today, I have a special treat for you. As you can see, I am rocking my pixelated Spider-Man t-shirt, and today is all about Spider-Man. I'm going to go through all of my Spider-Man Funko Pop. So I'm going to show you and break down all my Spider-Man Funko Pops. All right, let's go on this journey. So first and foremost, don't forget to smash that like button. That's always important, and I appreciate it when you do. If you happen to really like the stream, go ahead and smash that for me. As well as hitting that notification bell so you can be alerted every time I post a new video. Because I've had some people contact me like, man, I didn't know you posted a video in a while. You gotta make sure you get that notification bell. And finally, if you really like what I'm saying and you're curious or you have some questions for me, please drop a comment below. I will definitely get back to you as soon as I can. All right, let's get going. So I'm going to get started right away with my first pop, which is the first Spider-Man Funko Pop I ever received. It is the classic Leaping Spider-Man Funko Pop. So this is a Marvel Collector's Core exclusive, right? It came in the box, and you couldn't get it anywhere else. And it's like hitting his classic pose with him with his legs pulled up right before he's getting ready to shoot out a web. And I just like the uniqueness of this pop and how cool it is. It's the classic red and blue costume with the black around the eyes. You don't get any more original than that with Spider-Man. Right, so this was the very first Spider-Man Funko Pop that I ever received, and it's just classic. It gets no better. Right, and one thing that's really interesting about this one is that it comes with a stand. At the time, a lot of Funko Pops didn't have stands for the characters, but since he's leaping, it has a little stand that you can put on him so that he can be displayed, as you can see right next to me on the screen. All right, let's get to the next pop. Now, this next one, I had to give you a little backstory. So years ago in Amazing Spider-Man, early in his career, he had become friends with Johnny Storm, the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. So they used to buddy up a lot of times in the books, in both Spider-Man and Fantastic Four books. And he knew the Baxter building, which is where they live, pretty well. And so at one point in time, Spider-Man, as you may or may not know, he is actually a great tailor because he made his first costume, right? He had sewn it together himself, designed it, everything. So he had been wearing it for a while, and he would wash it, but it was getting damaged. So he had his costume was completely torn up, and he knew Mr. Fantastic used these things called unstable particles to make costumes for his family because they can withstand a lot of pressure, like the heat from the Human Torch, the Invisible Woman being able to go intangible, stretching out like Mr. Fantastic, and taking a lot of force to it, with things, so it can take a lot of damage. So he went to them to get a new costume. Unfortunately, they were off on a mission somewhere, I think either in the microverse or in space somewhere where they couldn't be contacted. So he borrowed a costume from the Fantastic Four, but he didn't have a mask. They obviously didn't program a mask for Spider-Man. So he used the next best thing, which is the origin of this character, and it includes his name. He is known as the Bombastic Bag-Man. All right, check it out. It's Spider-Man with the Fantastic Four costume on, literally with a paper bag on his head. This was a Walgreens exclusive. All right, but the Bombastic Bag-Man is what he's called. I'll try to get up there. You can see it in smaller print. But yeah, he has a Fantastic Four outfit on, but yet he has his bag over his head. Okay, so there were several in that series. So as you can see, you have the Octo Spidey, which is a totally original new one. And then you have the Spider-Man Future Foundation. I don't have that one, but that was also a later time in the series when the Human Torch was missing. He was gone. And he had appeared to have died. And so they had rechanged and rebranded the Fantastic Four to the FF, which stands for Future Foundation. And all the members wore this white and black like Spider-Man has on here. That was a pretty cool run written by John Hickman. Check it out. But once again, this is the Bombastic Bag-Man at Walgreens exclusive. All right. So definitely tell me what you think about that one, because I know that's a unique pop, and just how is he able to really function with this paper bag on his head and have it not fly off? The next pop that I have for you all is the character that you've probably seen if you saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I think everybody did. So this next character is an anamorphic character, with a really funny story, origin story. So at one point in time, Marvel had the ongoing series called What If, which of course now is made popular by the Disney Plus animated series of the same name. So there were all these books about what if situations or scenarios would happen. So Marvel did like a comedy parody of that called What The. And in this is where one of the characters kind of premiered, which is known as Spider-Ham. All right, so once again, this is an anamorphic character, so part pig, part spider. A lot of people for a long time thought that it was a pig that actually got bitten by a spider. It's actually the reverse. The spider got bitten by a pig and then became Spider-Ham. He like morphed into this pig type of creature because of that. So weird origin, but I like this pop. It's from the Into the Spider-Verse collection and another Walgreens exclusive. So once again, with these Funko Pops, it's really important to find out who has the best exclusives. So you're either going to have to look at a place like Walgreens, Target, Walmart, Box Lunch, Hot Topic. They all have various types of exclusives, but which one is the most value? Which one would you like better? You got to go on a deep dive hunt for these things. This is the Spider-Ham from the Into the Spider-Verse Walgreens exclusive pop. Now, this next one is one I think the majority of people have never seen before. So, there was a character several years ago, long time ago actually, when I was a kid. This is the time when like mech robots were popular, and there was this show that came out. It was a live action show, and it was kind of like Power Rangers, but it wasn't Power Rangers because they hadn't been invented yet. But it's about all these characters who would come around, hopping around, fighting, and then getting into robots that transform. That was a big thing in that. Of that. So this character kind of grew from that time period, the first original live action Spider-Man show. And so Japan wanted to make a version of that. And they had a Japanese Spider-Man, right? That was this next character that I'm going to show you now. It's the Japanese Spider-Man from the TV series. It's not on Disney Plus, but you can look it up. It's pretty hilarious as well as interesting. And I watched a couple of episodes. I was able to download them and check them out. They're pretty good. So this is the Spider-Man from the Japanese TV series. It is a previews exclusive, which is another company that kind of gives out exclusive things. They like preview all the comics that come out. So it's the Japanese Spider-Man. So what makes him different than anybody else? Well, one, if you notice, he has this little armband on. This armband helps to call his mech. So in this series, Spider-Man had a card that can transform into like a mech robot. And he would use that to help fight along with him. You can kind of see it on the back. You can see the car, you see the spider bot, if you will, in there. And this was once again from the Japanese TV series. This was once again an exclusive from Previews magazine. Okay, so the Japanese TV series Spider-Man. I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is a pretty cool? Is it worthwhile? Or should they have even gone further and explore more different cultures of Spider-Man? Drop a comment below to let me know what you think about that. In the early 2000s, Marvel decided to do something else to kind of give us a different version of their characters. This was a time when most of these like anime and manga comics were starting to become way more popular here in the States. And so they want to catch that wave and try to do something. So Marvel invented the Mangaverse, if you will. It was a series that included several characters from most of Marvel history. So we had like the Avengers, Black Panther, and one of the most standout characters was the Spider-Man of the Mangaverse. So this Spider-Man was a little bit different. He was kind of like a ninja. So, and here's the pop. This is a Amazon exclusive because right now Amazon is doing something called Year of the Spider, and they're doing several Spider-Man pops from different periods to showcase this. But this is the Amazon exclusive Mangaverse Spider-Man. All right, and like I said, he was kind of like a ninja. It was like a clan of people who were trained, and so this particular version of Spider-Man. And they didn't have it in the pop, but I thought it was really cool. He had these two little grappling hooks that were kind of like he would use as for his webs, because he didn't shoot webs himself. But he had these grapplings, because like I said, he was kind of like a little stealth ninja. Fun fact, on the Spider-Man game for PS4 and PS5, the original, one of the bonus costumes is to put Spider-Man in this manga-verse suit.
Same old me. Over here.
And I think it's really cool when he has it on, because he was like a little kid. He's shorter, and he's actually more agile than the regular Spider-Man. And once again, the manga-verse Spider-Man. I just like the difference of him, and you can really get a cool look at that backpack. Right, you can see right next to me like I say, it was a clan. They were kind of like ninjas and fighting and learning all these different techniques. So it was a whole group of them, but he was the lead character. This next pop is one that has become extremely popular and came out of the very famous book and storyline, Marvel's Civil War. Not the movie, but the original comic book. So in the comic book, as you know, spoiler alert for those who've never either read the book or have seen the movie, Captain America Civil War, that there was a war between the superheroes, right? So Tony Stark, Iron Man, felt that, superheroes do a lot of damage. We do a lot of things. We're responsible. We need to be known. People need to identify us so they could, front the bill to us for doing the damage, even though we rescue people. Captain America was on the other side that said, hey, you know what? I don't think this is okay, because once we reveal our identities, then our loved ones and our families are in peril. We have to worry about them, as well as all the other stuff we have to take care of. So they fought. And Spider-Man originally agreed with Captain America. Like, yeah, I don't want everybody to know who I am. That's too many lives are in danger. But he finally, during the course of fighting, he finally decided, you know what? Iron Man's right. And he publicly admitted for the very first time, he went to it was a press conference in the comic, and he yes, I am Spider-Man. Peter Parker took his mask off. Everyone knew. And so in order to protect him, Iron Man gave him a new costume, which is the Ironspider. And this is the original Ironspider costume, not the one from the MCU. This is another Walgreens exclusive. And this Ironspider costume is really modeled after Iron Man. It has that same red and gold design, right? And he has repulsor rays. And aside from that, he obviously has his claws that come out, of these extendable and retractable claws that come out of his back. Right? This is from this particular series with these different Spider-Man suits and villains. This is the Ironspider from the Marvel Civil War. One of my favorite versions of Spider-Man in his costume. There's a special cover which I was not able to procure, but I really wanted. It's one of the issues of Civil War where it's Spider-Man in his full costume with the arms stretched out, and he is crushing Captain America's shield. And that was one of my favorite variant covers, but I was never able to get it. But I'm still searching for it to today, but it's gone up in price, especially after the movie came out. All right, this character you know very well. This is the very first pop of Miles Morales. I got it in a Funko Marvel Collector's Core box, and I want you to notice there's a little difference between this Spider-Man pop of Miles with others. All right, this was a Funko exclusive, all right, from the Collector's Core. And if you notice, it's hard to kind of get in, but the eyes, he has those added Funko eyeballs, which a lot of their pops have. But now most of the pops with Spider characters are smooth. They don't have that distinction. So this makes this pop a little bit more rare and exclusive. This is him in his original black and red costume. This was once again, Marvel Collector's Core exclusive. And this was from the Secret Wars box. So this box had two characters at that time. It had the Miles and it had the very first female Thor box. And it was from Secret Wars 2. There was the original Secret Wars, where Spider-Man Peter Parker got his first black suit, the Venom suit. But then the second Secret Wars was even better. I think, in my opinion, that book is basically Doom had decided to kind of restart these wars and doing extra dimensional stuff, and basically was able to seize control of just about everybody and destroy multiple realities. And so what he did was he took pieces of planets with different realities from different multiverse and put them all together, and he called it Battle World, and he ruled over it. So there were so many characters that were different, and I really enjoyed reading about and seeing them. So, for example, there was a Thor corpse, and this Thor corpse was basically like Doom's police officers. So you had Thor, you had Storm, you even had Groot as Thor. So there were all these different versions of Thor, and they were like the police officers in this world. It's an amazing book. I definitely highly recommend reading Secret Wars 2. This next version of Spider-Man is a darker Spider-Man that not many people know very well. This was a run in the Amazing Spider-Man books, like around 690 something to issue 700. And what was happening in this story arc is that Doc Ock was dying. So he was trying to find a way to put his consciousness in someone else's body. So he had been monitoring Peter for a long time, and he was like sending these Octobots, as he called them, to spy on him. They had to help him out and analyze him. And so they got into this big fight. And at the end of it, basically, Doc Ock transferred his consciousness into Peter's body, and they kind of mind swapped. And it was like, wait a minute, they were in each other's body. And so Doc was dying. And so Peter was like, I can't believe you did this, but promise me one thing. And so Doc Ock kind of was taking a little sympathy. He felt bad for him. He was like, what? He was like, be the best Spider-Man you can be. Do everything, save people, just do right by my name. You know, people are going to expect this from you. And so he kind of made Peter a promise. He was like, I will live up to the legacy, but I will be better. I won't be the amazing Spider-Man. I will be the superior Spider-Man. And this is this version of Doc Ock as superior Spider-Man. Now, it's very similar to the Ironspider. And there was a lot of influence, but this particular version of Spider-Man was more techie because it was made from Doc Ock, right? It was his mind. So it's another Walgreens exclusive. Yeah, I like the different play on the black and reds than the standard black and blue, or red and blue, sorry, from the original Spider-Man. So he took it and made it black and red. He had the arms because he couldn't get rid of not having the arms, right? That's true to Doc Ock's way of thinking. He needs his extra limbs, if you will. So he continued this process of adding this to the suit. But he did a lot of things when he took over Peter's body. He had changed relationships for him. He actually created this industry called Parker Industries, which became like a tech billionaire. Like he had amassed a lot of money. He was looked at as a scientist, but he still was doing some of his evil and nefarious things. So it didn't really work out. And eventually, Peter got his body back, and Doc Ock got kind of put into a new body and kind of was able to be okay. But when Peter first got back, he kind of was like, man, I don't even remember or know any of this stuff because I wasn't conscious. He was kind of like, I don't even know what happened, but he was like, wow, I'm wealthy now, I'm doing this. But of course, things typically work out how they do for Spider-Man, and he ended up losing like everything. And so even though Doc Ock had helped him amass this wealth and kind of had a little bit of respect, he kind of like messed him up as well. This next Spider-Man pop is another Marvel Collector's Core exclusive, and it's from Spider-Man Homecomir, the very first Marvel movie with Spider-Man to appear in the MCU. And this is him showing off his web wings. If you remember that scene in Spider-Man Homecoming where he jumped to the top of the Washington Monument and kind of was like he had never been that high. He kind of did a flip and he used those wings. And this is that version of him. All right, from Spider-Man Homecoming. It's a Marvel Collector's Core exclusive. And I love how the wings look kind of like translucent. That's a pretty cool feature on the pop. Right, you really get to see that, and it reminds you of those squirrel diving suits that people wear when they dive out of the planes to kind of glide around, gliding suits. Now, the web wings aren't key to Spider-Man Homecoming. Like the original Spider-Man in the comics always had those web wings. He just didn't use them that often. I think in the early days he did, then they kind of like got rid of it. They just stopped showing it as much. And I can only imagine for the artists, because I've seen interviews and I've talked to different people, and it's like Spider-Man is the most challenging character to draw in the Marvel Universe. And it's why? And it's because of the webbing. It's the costume alone. Like the intricate lines for the webbing of the costume, as long as the webs he shoots, it just say it takes the most time. So if you ever notice in some of the comics, when the panels are smaller or when Spider-Man is not really featured at like the forefront, he's kind of in the background, they'll still draw him, but there won't be any webbing. So next time you look at a Spider-Man comic, see if you can identify any times where you don't see the webbing. But that was one of the tricks that artists used to use to not have to put that webbing over him when they had to draw him in a smaller format where you really didn't get to see the webbing being pronounced. Continuing talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, this next pop is also a pop from Spider-Man Homecoming, but it's a different one. This pop is him with his school jacket and headphones. You got to see this a lot on the Spider-Man Homecoming poster. And this is not an exclusive, but I ended up finding it at Target, and I just had to get it because I just love the detailing. So you have the nice jacket with the school on it, and you have him in his headphones, and one of the eyes is kind of like squinting a little bit. It kind of have a little mechanical moving of the eyes, if you will. But I just liked him in this outfit, and I made sure I wanted to have this particular pop in my collection from the Homecoming series. And those are some of the other ones that came from that series on the back there. And I just really thought it was cool. And the detail on the jacket, you got the little buttons down the side. And like I really like how Funko goes into detail when they're making their pops. Like, you know, they really try to get as much of the character from the comics or movies as they can into the pop to kind of show that detail great. All right, this next pop is from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And this particular pop, I got to tell you how I came about it. I entered a contest when the Spider-Verse movie came out at my local Showplace Icon movie theater. And it was a simple contest. What is your favorite character from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and why? So I believe I chose Miles, and I chose why I liked him. And I've been reading the books for a long time. I saw when he first came out, which is in a book called Ultimate Spider-Man. It's called Ultimate Fallout #4. It's kind of when he like debuted as Spider-Man. And I have that book in my collection. I just kind of went on about that, and I submitted. Once again, social media contest. Didn't think anything else after I submitted. You know, people tend to do these things all the time. You submit it, like, all right, forget about it. They say, oh, winner's chosen. And you're like, okay, congratulations. So I got an email, and it was like from the Showplace Icon said, you know, we went through the contest and 2 winners were chosen. I'm like, okay, this is the standard email they usually send out. And my name was there, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I actually won? And so I was like, oh, cool. Because they never said what the prize was. So I was just like, all right, that's great. I'm going to go down and claim my prize. So I go down to the Showplace Icon Theater and I showed them the email that I won. Like, oh, congratulations. The guy said, hold on, I'll be right back. He went and got this giant box. I'm like, whoa, what's this? He was like, man, you just got a good prize. So I was excited to open this. So when I got home, I opened it, and it was this Spider-Man backpack, a roller backpack. So it rolls and it converts to the backpack. You can strap it on. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool prize. Oh my God, that's great. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why is it so heavy? The bag was actually packed with stuff. So one of the prizes in the bag was this Spider-Man in his, Miles in his costume version of Spider-Man from the Spider-Verse. This is when he went to the store, and he was going to the memorial for Spider-Man that died in his universe, and he didn't know what to get, so he went there and he saw the retailer and he put on his costume. And I loved the cameo at the time. The retailer was actually Stan Lee. And he was like, you know, how do I know if it'll fit? You know, what about bringing it back? He was like, never mind that, son. It always fits. And that was like a little hidden message. But this is Miles in his costume version of the Spider-Man costume from Into the Spider-Verse. It's not an exclusive, but I thought that was pretty cool that they gave me that pop. And aside from that one, there was also another pop in the bag, which was Spider-Gwen. All right, and here is this pop. And this is Spider-Gwen unmasked in her outfit, also known as Ghost Spider. So I didn't like when they changed the name to Ghost Spider. I like Spider-Gwen better. But if you think about it, Spider-Gwen is pretty revealing because you're telling people her real name, Gwen Stacy. And I guess they said, well, I think we can't keep doing that. We got to hide her some kind of way. So they changed her name to Ghost Spider. For those of you who don't know the backstory about Gwen Stacy was one of Spider-Man's first girlfriends from high school, where they kind of were together for a little while. And then it was discovered that Green Goblin figured out that, Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker were together, and therefore deduced that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So he captured Gwen Stacy, and he used her to kind of get him to go to this bridge. And it's a very famous scene where he throws her from the bridge, and Spider-Man tries to rescue her. He's still pretty young in the game. He does throw a web and catches her foot, but with the speed and velocity that she's falling and him falling too, that web jerked her and it snapped her neck, and she died as a result. They did a version of this from the original Spider-Man movie starring Tobey Maguire in the early 2000s, where Mary Jane and Green Goblin are there. He did something very similar. Also, spoiler warning, if you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, they talk about this a little bit when all the three Peters are meeting and doing their big battle scene. And so, and you actually get to see this in the Amazing Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield, right? So Gwen Stacy dies in that one in that same fashion. So in this alternate universe, it wasn't Gwen that died, it was Peter Parker. And it was a weird mix-up. Peter Parker actually was still the same kid, smart, working with science, and he had actually been working with Dr. Kurt Connors, who is the Lizard. And he took one of his formulas and used it on himself, and had kind of was turning himself into the Lizard. And Gwen had to stop him, and he died in the process. And she took on the mantle of becoming Spider-Gwen. So that's a little quick history for you, 101 about Gwen Stacy. All right, we are getting down to the last few pops that I have in my collection. This next pop is one of my favorites that depict the scene in Into the Spider-Verse when Spider-Man finally gets the confidence to become Spider-Man, right? This shows when Miles has to take that leap of faith, and he's on that building and he jumps off, and he finally just gets it, and he's able to do what he needs to do, and he's ready to be a fighter now. And this is the leaping Spider-Man from Miles into the Spider-Verse. It is a PX Previews exclusive. Once again, I've shown this before, but this is by far my favorite Spider-Man pop. Simply because he has the outfit on from the movie with the Jordans on, with the hoodie, and he is just doing his thing. I'm glad that they made this one a rare find and a different one from the regular collection. It was harder to get. And I happened to find this in a store when I was visiting Seattle. So in Seattle, Washington, where Funko kind of blew up, their headquarters are there. And I was in a comic book store in Seattle, Washington. They had a whole wall full of pops. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, they actually have it. And it was regular price, and I had to get it. I'm glad I got this in my collection. This particular pop came from a recent storyline in Marvel Universe called Infinity Warps. So we heard of the Infinity Gauntlet, right? So basically in this particular story arc, the Infinity Gems had been dispersed and Thanos was gone. And so there was some really weird things starting to happen with the gems itself. And so there was this warrior who was going around trying to collect them all. And they're like, well, it's not Thanos. Who's trying to gather them all again and for what purpose? So this villain was a female character. She was fighting off and going to all the locations where the stones were. She was starting to get them. And then it was finally revealed, spoiler warning, and then for the Infinity Warps, that the person who was hunting down the stones was Gamora. And Gamora wanted to destroy them. So in her process, she was trying to figure out how to do it, but she couldn't truly destroy the stones. But she ended up kind of merging the stones together in different fashions. And in this Infinity Warps thing happened where all the characters now, instead of the snap, making all the characters disappear, she kind of did her version of the snap and made all the characters like blend together. And so one of the characters that stood out to me was Spider-Man, who is also mixed with another character from Marvel who has just had a Disney Plus series, Moon Knight. If you have not checked that out, you must check out the Moon Knight series. It's pretty interesting, doing a lot with mental illness and how to approach that in that particular fashion. So it's called Spider-Knight, or Arachnite is his name. And he is a mixture of Spider-Man and Moon Knight. So if you can imagine having the webs, the agility of Spider-Man, the toughness, and the fighting prowess of Moon Knight, is a deadly combination. This is also a Walgreens exclusive. It glows in the dark. And this is one I don't have out of the box, and for a specific reason. This one is also a leaping character, so he came with a little stand. But when I noticed when I opened it, the stand had obviously been put into the pop and it broke off in it. So I leave it in the box so no more damage comes to it. But some of the other warped characters were Soldier Supreme, which was Captain America and Doctor Strange. You also have Iron Hammer, which is a combination of Thor and Iron Man. But they had various characters had been put into this warped out reality where they kind of fought off and realized they were different from everybody else. Eventually, of course, as everything always does, the Marvel Universe went back to how it should be, but this other reality still exists. And I would love to see some of these characters come back and cross over to the regular Marvel Universe every now and again. I hope that's what they end up doing. Okay, and now for the grand finale. A while ago, there was a time when Spider-Man had got into this scuffle with the Incredible Hulk. And I already know what you think. They are not evenly matched, right? Hulk is way more powerful. Spider-Man is agile, but he cannot take the Hulk. Well, they got into this battle. He was trying to stop him a little bit. And something was able to pierce the Hulk's skin. And some of his blood was leaked out, came out. And Spider-Man was also damaged too. And he got some of that radioactive blood from the Incredible Hulk, that gamma radiation mixed with his spider blood. And it ended up creating this new character called Spider-Hulk. So if you can imagine, all the Spider-Man's intelligence, his webbing, but you have now the brute force and strength of the Incredible Hulk. And this is where Spider-Hulk debuted. This is a deluxe pop. Now I got to bring this out and show you a little different. This one's bigger than the average pop. This is also another Walgreens exclusive, if you can believe it. So this is Spider-Hulk. As you can see, it is massive. Way bigger than the standard pop. Right, you can see the suit is being broken out of like the Hulk normally does. All right, so you have him in his costume, fully ready to go Hulk on you. And in this particular issue, it was a one-shot issue, so it only lasted for one issue. And he would say Spider Smash instead of Hulk Smash, like his little catchphrase. He eventually went back to normal, but recently they made another issue of him and they explored the Spider-Hulk phenomenon once again. Like they had Peter turn back into Spider-Hulk later on and kind of figure out some things. I advise checking that out if you're interested in reading about this character at all. All right, and I just want to show you in comparison to a regular pop how big this is. It's deluxe one. So you got the Spider-Hulk versus the regular size pop. Well, there you have it. Those have been all my Funko Spider-Man pop variants. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and seeing some of these pop. And if you leave me a comment below, tell me which Spider-Man pop you enjoyed the best. What are some ones you think that should be made that you have not seen yet? I would love to hear back from you. And until next time, peace. What's up? We are talking about fiction in flow. What's up? If you don't have it, you are truly missing. Fiction in flow. What's up? We are talking about fiction in flow. What's up?